So I wanted to do a quick XRP update for you guys, and I wanted to show some interesting developments that I've been seeing lately. If we take a look at the last weekly candle here, it did close exactly right around the 200-week moving average right there. And now this new weekly candle is kind of back within the cloud, and it actually went down to back test already. Let's zoom in a little bit. It went to backtest already the bottom of the cloud, and now it's making its way back above the 200-week moving average, on its way possibly to the top of the cloud here, which currently sits around 65 cents. And we look in the past, we can see the many attempts that it had on the weekly chart to try to break above this cloud. And the cloud was essentially was broken right here in March of 2024 and maintained it, but then just collapsed and then really collapsed back to the 100 week, right? But we do see that we did reach a bottom here, and we do see that price has recovered nicely. And if we look to the right here, the cloud is still red, but if this keeps trending up and up, then the future cloud would eventually turn green as well for possibly a continuation higher. So this is a really important development. And if this week does close back above this 200-week moving average, then that is a good sign that it could possibly flip it back to support to continue higher and higher. And I'm going to show you on my linear scale GAN why I think this is a very good possibility that this is going to flip to support. So I have the linear scale GAN pulled up here, and if we take a look right here, I have the highlighted oval right here, and this is the indicator of why I think it's going to be flipped to support. And let's go back in time first to look at this orange angle going all the way across, and we can see how important that has been ever since May 2017. And we can see that it was resistance so much, then it was support a lot, and then it was like up and down, support and resistance, 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 and it's been kind of resistance for a while, right? It tried to go hold it as support here, but never really could. It just kept drifting lower, and we can see exactly why that level held. It was support on the linear scale GAN, and going back in time with that angle, you can see how important that angle was as well, right? It was a very important support level throughout time. And essentially now that has held. And the development that I'm seeing where it's possible to finally break above is right here, that last week it closed above that orange angle again. And it hasn't done that really since back in April 2024. But this is a good development that we see it even already back tested that orange angle right there for a possible continuation higher. Now, we saw that the top of the cloud of the Ichimoku was around 65 cents, right? And that sits maybe around here, right? Right around here. And if we look to the left of the chart, we can see, let's just put a line at 65 cents, right? So we can get a better understanding. So 65 cents is right around there. So if we look to the left of the chart, look how important 65 cents has been. Lots of wicks have touched that level. Lots of bodies of candles have also went through that level. And if we look further to the left, we can see that it was even a resistance level right here with these weekly candle wicks right here, right? We can see in going back further, another wick through that one, right? And going back further, it was even a wick through support down here with these candles as well. So that level, which happens to be the top of the cloud, is a very, very important level, right? If I turn on the cloud, you can see that's the top of the cloud right there, right? So let's just take that off so we can see more clearly. So that is the next target. And after that target, after this level gets flipped to a support, then I really believe price can start to go higher and higher and higher up to the blue angle, right? So this blue angle currently sits around 90 cents. But if you go further out in time, it can be 93 cents, 94, 99, $1, right? It just depends on time when it will get there. So We know that this could be a possible support now, this orange angle. We know this 65 cent zone needs to get broken before it has a chance to go above. But is there anything else in the way of this 65 cents before we get to these upper levels into the 90s and to the dollars? Well, that's where the log scale GAN comes in. So let's take a look at that. And here is the log scale GAN, and this is what I've brought up many times before, and this is another confluence of why support held where it did, right? So support held right at the previous 1.618 Fibonacci, and before I go further, I want to remind you where that was. That was the high of 2013 and the low right here of 2014, right? So that is a very important support level, and that also coincided, right, with this bottom arc. And we can see so much confluence why that support held, which is why I was really bullish when it got down to that price, right? And now we can see, so that 65 cent zone is important. This top arc is also super important as we have never really broken above it. Just a little bit before during the all-time high, but it never held as it got rejected by that 2.272 fib, right? It wicked right through it right there. So essentially now we can see that price, if it were to continue higher this week, that top arc does sit around 70 cents, maybe 69 cents, 70 cents, just about, right? So what essentially I would love to see is some kind of bullish engulfing candle that closes well above it and possibly comes back down to retest it to confirm this as support for the very first time. And if that were to happen, then I would say it's almost a guarantee at that point to get back to this 2.272 Fibonacci, which is around $3, right? Almost a guarantee because this has never been flipped to support. We look back in time, never has been flipped to support this arc. So that is the last step. So again, the first step is getting to the 65 cents, right? The second step is getting above this arc. And currently that arc is around 70 cents. If we go down more throughout time, say it happens in August, then the arc is around 66 cents. Say it happens in like September, October, then that would be maybe 64, 65 cents, right? So it could just trade sideways to get to that 65 cent zone and until like maybe September or so, and then finally flip that to a support and then take off. So it's looking like the possibility is getting closer and closer to finally break this resistance level, to flip it to support, to carry on higher and higher. And will it just stop at this previous all-time high fib around this 308? I don't think so, right? I think once this arc gets flipped to support, it'll keep going, right? Possibly it'll come up here and get rejected and then maybe retrace a little bit, possibly to these levels down here to maybe like $1.60 or $1.50 or so. That could be a possibility because it's a very volatile coin, right? It can go up and down very fast, but I would say a minimum would be this cycle would get to that 2.618, which currently sits around $9. And if we look at $9 on the arc in time, that is essentially around it's essentially around March 2025, right? That $9 zone sits around March 2025. So could things just skyrocket so much higher after the election, break through this 2.272 all the way up to this 2.618 around $9? Yeah, that's a possibility. But we can see if price or if time goes on further, where does that $9 sit on the top arc? Well, that $9 sits on the top arc around November of 2029, right? So that's a possibility as well. We don't really know the exact time, but we do see the possible resistance zones in the future with the next set of arcs, right? The first set of arcs sits there around March 2025, and the next set of arcs for that level sits around October or November of 2029. So that is something to look out for. I think it's a very possible scenario that a minimum of $9 for XRP is very possible. But the one thing I pointed out on my last video is this orange level right here, right? This orange level was retested so many times, and since then, price has held, right? Price has held this support. And according to this square, according to the theory that once this is a support and once price breaks free of these arcs to flip them to support, then that makes the next level possible, right? And this next level does sit at like $29. So we cannot ignore that. We cannot ignore this possibility. And if it got there, it could be later on in time, right? Could be in the 2030s or beyond. But I just want to tell you this is not impossible because this orange level has held as support for so long, which makes this blue level very, very possible. But that's not even the 3.618, right? The 3.618 sits around $200. So that could even be the next target. And I've already made a video about why $250 XRP is possible. I'll link that in the end of this video right here, so you can watch that if you have not seen it. But essentially, this is the target, right? This is a very bullish setup. We know the levels. And the first level, again, 65 cents. The second level is this arc, currently around 70 cents. But I want to tell you guys, once this arc gets flipped to support, it's going to go back at least to the 2.272 and the 2.618. So get ready for that. I would not be bearish on this XRP chart at all, and I can't wait to go make a video once this arc has flipped to support, because then that will mean it'll be ready to fly and there's not much resistance above until it gets to these targets up here. So be prepared for that, and don't be bearish on this chart, because good things look like they are coming in the future.